There we go. We're live again. Sorry, folks, we're late. A bit of delay as James got caught up in work, so he won't be joining us tonight, the Everton fan. But we are going to continue anyway. As I say, follow the way instructions that I've just moved away. Follow the way instructions. We'll do the quick intro, and then we'll get into it. Boom, we're back. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. Listen, folks, as I say, James was supposed to join us tonight, but he got caught up on work. I'm going to knock him out when I see him, but we're still going to continue. Has to go on. Has to go on. Anyway, we'll do a bit of hellos and how are yous, Arn? How you keeping, mate?
Not too bad, mate. Still waiting, patiently waiting for the season to start, but can't wait. Live for football throughout the season. Like, and see when the summer months come round and there's international games throughout the season. It's the boring part, but it'll not be too long before we're back in it.
Yeah, it is boring, isn't it? I'm starting to feel the pinch of it, to be honest with you. Just in the comments there, how's my sound? Is it an echo? Is it fine? Is it good? Because I've been having a bit of an issue with it. So I just want to know if I'm not sounding like an absolute balloon on oxygen or something. But anyway, listen, what we're going to do, we're going to have a wee chat about Leeds anyway. We got a new signing that I'm kind of excited about for 15 million. Big Yaka, what's your thoughts on that? 15 million?
Well, do you know what? He came from Serie A. It's a top league, top. One of the top leagues in the world. Like, I don't know much about him, but he's from what I see, he's tall. He looks physical. I think Leeds are going to go physical this year. With the likes of set pieces. They sort of win you games. You look at the likes of Arsenal with the corners last year. I think he can be quite useful. So he can.
He looks like He looks like the old-fashioned defenders where just get rid of it, don't take any prisoners, and see you later type thing, doesn't he? Big, strong, and lanky. Suppose we need that. Defenders like that don't come around, but I'm excited. On that one, though, him coming in, do you think he's going to come in, he's going to be a starter? It has to be a starter. There's no way you're going to send that money in the statement signing on somebody who's going to sit in the bench. There's talks at the moment about Pascal maybe being on the move. Do you think that's a good idea?
No, not really, because for me he was one of our best players last year. You watched the Sunderland home game. You watched the Sheffield United game where the first goal was crucial. He got the 2 goals. Like, against Sunderland, like that was probably our best, game of the season. Winning 95th minute. And he got both goals. As again, as I said, as I said about Jakob Biel, being useful for the likes of set pieces and all. You look at how many, out of all the scorers last season, Pascal was probably right up there with the, getting goals from set pieces.
He was probably one of the only ones, actually. Who else scored from a set piece last year with us? Nobody from corners and nobody.
I just think you need sort of bigger players. I think the last few seasons, I think we've been sort of, bullied, with bigger teams. You're looking at who we're up against and you're seeing our players, smaller compared to their players. I think Fark is going down the route now of making us more physical.
Yeah, they're talking about your man, Pascal. He makes silly mistakes, but I get that. He's still young. But your man...
He's still young.
Yeah, but Yaka seems to have the experience behind him. He's a no-nonsense sit-back defender, and I think in the Premier League coming up, the way we're going to be playing, we're not going to be playing running out from the back.
Gives us an option as well if he wants to go for 8 at the back. We can do Rodon, Pascal, and Biel.
And maybe the two.
So it sort of gives us that option.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think Barca knows it's coming where we need to be more defensive this year with Rodon, who likes to run out. He's got the pace, and I think he's going to cover your man's pace, Yakas. I generally do think that keeping. I agree with what you're saying. Pascal needs to stay. Having
Yeah.
those three rotate each other, it just takes one of them to get injured, and that's it. So
See,
Pascal's not the greatest without getting. He hasn't gone a whole season without being injured.
yeah, if you look last year as well, like we
Hmm.
attacked with five, or six, with
Yeah,
the two fullbacks. I don't think we'll be doing that this year. As you said, it'll probably be more defensive sort of lineup,
and I
but
think that's the reason why he's coming
I'm
in might
interested
be
to
that.
see what way Tanaka takes the Premier League.
I'm excited. 2 million. Why can we
It's
find more like that there? 2.5, 3 million. How much was he again?
yeah, I do think he was head and shoulders above the rest in the championship. Be
Yeah.
interesting to see. When you're talking about defensive side, he sort of breaks things up. So he does.
Sorry, 2 seconds.
Not very much gets past him.
No, but that's good. That's good. So I think we should keep Pascal. See the stories about letting him go. I think it's stupid because there is talks that our favourite Vober is already admitted that he doesn't want to be there. The club don't want him
Yeah.
to be there. He doesn't want to be there. He's no interest in sticking around. I,
The
I,
thing
I
about
think.
the thing about
Go ahead.
Pascal is I think as a PSR point of view it would make sense selling him, so you're gonna get full money, but personally I don't think we should. I
Hmm.
think he's worth more than what 18 million, 15 million, whatever's been touted around.
Hmm. Who knows Pascal? Could be your favorite. Oh my god! Really? And guess
I
who
don't know.
guess who decided to show up? Are you not supposed to be at the bottom here, James, having a wee conversation with us face to face? I know you literally just text me. I get that. You literally just text me that you're still in the van. You're not even home. I get that, mate. Listen, if you do get home, you can pop on, mate. Honestly, click on that link. You won't come in straight away. We'll have a chat with you because I had a good setup. I spent 3 days building that. No, I didn't. I'm joking. Pop in whenever you want, James. Um, but yeah, I think Vober's away. I don't want Vober here. Couldn't care less about him. I hate him. I hate what he did. He's using us as a scapegoat. Not a big
The
fan.
problem is, do you not find, but as well, it seems to be every international break he seems to be ready, to play. But then when it comes back to the league form, he seems to be, he doesn't seem to be available.
Yeah, he's always fit for. Yeah, but that I said I called that to you last year, remember? And
Yeah.
you knew it yourself anyway. But I called that to you, and I says, why did he even bother sticking around if he was just going to sit in the bench all year? I,
See if you're see if you're a teammate as well. Well, wait, how do you approach that?
Here, by the way, sorry to interrupt you, James. I even got out the Sports Direct mug and all for you, mate, and you let me down here. Who drinks a mug of tea like this? You useless. I'm only joking. I wanted to do anyway. It was coincidence. Sorry, Aaron. What were you saying?
Yes, I was saying about if you're one of Uber's teammates,
Hmm.
how do you approach that one? Do you welcome him back in, or do you turn around and you say,
I'm surprised he was
you left
welcomed
us
in
for
the
a
first
year?
time. Yeah. Um. There he goes, James. But that's true. That's true. Yeah. See you with Vober. I don't want him in the club. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. I just want the toxic vibes. He doesn't want to be there. We don't want him there. We've got your man Jack
We
and
just
I.
need to try and get a fee that, you know, something back. Rather than do what Betis have
Mm.
been doing, where they've been trying to get two players for one, and somebody on the free, and you know what I mean. Like if you look at the Betis team, they've probably most of our players from 2021, 2022.
Yeah. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Don't want them around. Don't want
Yeah.
them around. What we'll do. We'll move on from the centre backs, right? Going forward, you did put in the chat, right? You're a big fan of having a chat about the number 10, right? So there's talks around Harmer or Hammer, whatever way you want to pronounce it, and Bendia. Now, I'm a fan of Bendia, but I didn't like the fact that he chose to not come to us last. It's one of the ones, if you don't want to be here, fucking do one. That's my thought behind it.
See, I can't. I know, but you can look at Solomon, for instance. Like he dropped down from the like his stock was low. He dropped down, whereas Buendia's stock was high.
And
So
he
you could
redeemed
probably
himself.
yeah, you could probably understand. That Buendia sort of he
Hmm.
he his stock was high, so he was looking at bigger. Like you look at Leverkusen, are They were in Champions League, you know,
Mm.
as
He
well. So
didn't
you
play
have to
much,
look.
did he?
Yeah,
He played a
no, I
bit.
don't think so. But you sort of have to look at it that way. You know, when you're going to a club, you don't think I'm not going to play. You know, you're thinking I'm going to be in this team. I'm going to be, Champions League.
Mm.
You know, so I think I think he sort of, yeah, I think that whole idea of him saying that he doesn't, he didn't want to come to the championship. I wouldn't be happy with it, but I would sort of understand from players' point of view. Like,
He has no commitment to Leeds. He doesn't support the club. He's trying to get his career. Yeah, I get that too, but now we're up and we're the big dogs. Well, not the big dogs, but we're in the Premier League, better than the
I
Spanish
think somebody
football.
somebody actually said in one of the chats that we're now the sort of upper hand, if you know what I mean. Whereas back then he had the upper hand. I think now he's sort of going flip, Leeds take it or leave it sort of thing, because he didn't really have a good season at Leverkusen, but at the same time,
But he was also
you know,
unfit, wasn't he? He was
you
coming off
still
a
know
bad
his
injury.
quality on his day.
Mm.
I watched him for Aston Villa, the early rounds of the Champions League last season, and I thought
Mm-hmm.
he was quite good, but that's just my opinion.
He is quite good though. He really is, but I don't know what it is. Is it? It was. I know it was a bad injury. I definitely know there was a bad injury there. But same with Solomon. Solomon had a very bad injury and thought, listen, if I step down here, get the fitness up, make a point. I'm now back at Spurs. They're in the Champions League. I can move forward. Brilliant. He
It's
thought,
two different two different
yeah.
views, isn't it? Solomon was happy enough to step down, whereas he wasn't.
Who would you prefer?
For Solomon or
No, sorry,
Buendia.
Benduia or Hamer.
Oh, Buendia or Hamer. I'll probably take Buendia.
Yeah,
I just
Hamer. I
think
don't.
Hamer has this thing where he sort of goes down in games. The likes of the 50th minute, holding the
Yep.
back of the leg, laying on the floor. His team have to then kick the ball out.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has to stop. He has to get treatment. And you're wondering, is that his hamstring away? That's a 6 week job. Hamer would probably maybe be the cheaper option because obviously Sheffield United now need the money.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
not going up. If you look at the second year in the championship, like they heavily invested last year. And if you look at the second year in the championship, look how much money we had to pull in just to kind of like stay afloat. We had to pull in 105 million.
140, was it not?
Yeah, I think it was
Was the
105.
grey something like that? But
So it was.
again,
So
when it comes to Sheffield United, I think we haven't spoke about Demons, but sacking Wilder is wild. It's wild. It's stupid. We didn't go up via the playoffs the first season, and we stuck with Farka, and Farka literally battered every
yeah,
record. Flying. He had a competitive team. He had it 1 or 2. He steadied the books. 100 points. Should have hit the 100 goals if the linesmen weren't blind. As many home wins, less defeats all season. Best run of the season. Goals for. Why did they get rid of him? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like, and
the
they
thing
brought in
about it as well
the
is
home manager in.
he knows the championship. He knows how to get out of it, and he knows the club as well. I couldn't understand why they don't give him another year, but they've
Mm,
obviously there must have been something behind the scenes. They must have said, right, we need to clear out here. We need to get a
yeah.
few players out, and he's probably went, no, you're not, or I go, and then they've
Mm-hmm.
come to some agreement.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a crazy appointment. Who was it?
I
Russell
think.
Sellers or
Yeah, the old Hull manager. He's not a bad
yeah.
manager, but he's good at keeping teams in the championship. He's not good at getting teams
No, but
promoted.
that's not what they need. But
Yeah, yeah.
that's their
Do you know
problem.
what I want to what I want to do here? James put this in. Surely you have money to spend, right? I want to have a quick chat about this because you're going to get my blood boiling. The rule of the Premier League is if you're in the Premier League 3 plus years, you're allowed to spend. You're allowed to have a loss of 130 million. Boom. 3 years in the Premier League. 2 years you're allowed to in the 2 years in the last three you're allowed to lose 60 million. So Leeds have got 60 million to spend, to lose. Sorry, without getting a penny in, right? So we're allowed to have a loss of 60 million. Every other team in the Premier League 3 plus years are allowed to go 130 million. Sunderland, because it's their first year in three, they're only allowed to spend. They're only allowed to have a loss of 30 million. So the three teams that are coming up are massively disadvantaged when it comes to financial rules. We can sell profit. For in other words, the three bottom clubs have to sell their homegrown players to have full PSR profit. So that's why Sunderland sold Bellingham or Job or whatever way he wants to go, because that's pure profit for them. And it's a homegrown player where there's no fee towards him. So the likes if Leeds sold a player they bought like Ampadu, they still owe money in him. For an example, Vober, we have to make a minimum of 5.5 million before we go zero, because we still owe 5 million on the contract. So the way it works is when you get a contract, you spread that over the. Look at Chelsea, for example. They have your man
Chelsea
banned for 25 years. He signed an 8-year contract, so the value that they bought him from is over 8 years. So if they sell him, whatever's left in the contract, they need to get that back to be profit. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? I was very technical. I thought I did very well. I'm going to give myself credit for that one. But yes. So do Leeds have money? Do Leeds have money? Yes, loads. But we're not allowed to go behind 60 million before we make a profit. We cannot go minus 61 million without making a profit first. So we have to make money before we can bring in. Now, it doesn't.
Weird the way it works. You sort of have to, like, it's like, you sort of have to pull players out, then you bring players in.
Yeah. So that's why we're talking about Pascal at the start of it. That's going to be pure profit. So
I think the only people that are going to be happy in all this here is the agents.
Oh God, yeah.
The agents are get the killing,
Yeah, we got your man Jakob.
They're rubbing their hands.
For 15 million, but we got him in a 4-year deal, so that's 15 million divided into 5. So we pay that every year. So that's how the PSR works. That's how we're able to break it. That's why Chelsea have spent billions, because they've got 20-year contracts on all these players. That's why Holland has Holland got a 9-year contract.
Yeah.
So it splits it up year on year on it. So we have Vober. Vober, we need to make a minimum of 5.5 million just to break even. So if we sell him for 3, we lose 2 million. Yeah. So that's the way it works. So do we have money? Yes. Are we allowed to spend it? No. James, you're the perfect example. Newcastle are the richest club on the planet by 2 times anybody, and you're still not allowed to buy players. If you were allowed to spend what you wanted, you'd buy the FIFA team and you would just win the league. End of story. But you're not allowed to do that no more. So you're stuck to what they want. I need to breathe because I'm getting in a rant. Sorry, let's move on. But anyway, yes, we have money, but we're not allowed to spend it. Should have just said that.
Yeah, I just want to say, well done, Kieran Maguire.
Did you like that? I tried my best to explain that. Sorry.
No, you're gonna do him out of a job, so you are. Just be careful.
I was just trying to be nice. Anyway, regarding the number 10, Hamer and Benduia, we have a number 10 who actually did his. I wouldn't say did his proud, but had come back last year after relegation.
Redemption.
A bit of redemption. He's one of the very few that came in straight away through the door and went, you know what? My granddad hit me a dig in the head and says, I owe Leeds. I'm going to stick around. Aronson. What's your thoughts on Aronson?
You know what? I thought he done too much. I thought he beat a player and then he tried to beat him again. Or, when you look at the simple things, he had the head down, not looking up, Don't get me wrong, he weighed in with quite a few goals. He got the winner against Derby with 500 million passes. He finished it off.
Goal, do you know what? I'd say that's one of my favourite goals. Just the whole team of that.
Sheffield Wednesday, as well. We'll talk about favourite goals of the season. Mine was probably the Bristol City. The Peru pass for Nanto. That pass was just.
It wasn't so
40
much
yards,
the
50 yards.
Finish, but that pass was next level.
It was.
They all these fans always cracked up every time that he couldn't pass. He can't pass. He can't pass.
I watched it. I watched back last night in the highlights, and I watched the sort of build up, and then it obviously kicked off the yellow scarves, and then the whole atmosphere in the stadium. It was just literally like pass out of defence. Firpo, I think, played it into Peru. He sort of spun round. One of their players slipped near the halfway line, and Peru just whipped it in. To Nanto. You know, when he
It's
just
hard to
finished it
explain
off,
that, isn't it?
that was probably my favourite goal, along with the strike Sunderland one. You
I
know, for
think
the
the
winner.
Sunderland one was more relief, wasn't it? It was the
Yeah.
excitement of the relief of oh shit moment, and then bang, and then the excitement. It's
No.
like the last game of the season, Solomon's winning goal. Oh
Well,
my! I thought
Solomon,
I was having
yeah,
a
yeah,
stroke.
yeah.
I honestly, I sat down on my living room floor and looked at Timmy, and it just went, "Call your mum. I think I'm gonna pass out. Call your mum. Everything's dizzy. Call your mum." And he laughed at
That's
me, and I went, "Timmy, I know I exaggerate, but I'm telling you now, go get your mum. I'm gonna pass out." Swear to fuck.
no, it was brilliant. Like, but there's been a few Peru's goal against Sheffield United as well.
Cracking goal.
You know, outside the
Cracking goal.
box. You know, Nanto against Coventry. You know, top
Mm.
corner. Dan James against Plymouth, top
You know what?
corner.
I'm going to interrupt you. You mentioned Nanto and you mentioned Dan James, right? Folks, if you don't know, me and Aaron, we have this wee thing back and forth. My favorite player is Dan James. I love him. I'm obsessed with Dan James, right? Aaron's favorite player is Nanto. He loves Nanto. And because they're both similar players and they can play both wings, I'm going to agree with what he always says to me off camera. He's going to be fantastic in the Premier League. It suits him. It suits him. I agree with what you're saying. See, when we got relegated that year, he was the shining star in that team that held us. Well, we didn't survive, but he gave us a better fight, a bit of hope, and a bit of something to hold on to. Do you remember the pass when he first came on? When we first signed him against Liverpool through to Somerville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was screaming. I was actually screaming. You know, keep that in the corner, keep that in the corner, and he just
On
played
each.
it in, and you're thinking, flip me. You know,
That
and
was a
then
great.
obviously Somerville, but Somerville,
Mm,
it was, you know, we hit it early, and I think that's what, you know, caught Allison out. You know, but I Nanto definitely.
yeah. Halo 43. This James is a little bit faster than the James that was supposed to be on. This James gonna be on time. The other one can't be on time. That was digs right there.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I think Nanto will do a lot better in the Premier League than he did in the Championship because the
I think you
Championship's
get more
more
time.
cutthroat.
You know,
Y-
it'll
Yep.
not be as physical. You know, for the likes of the championship. You know,
Hmm.
it's proper. You know, you're coming up against horrible teams like Preston and Millwall. You know, where it's a full on battle. You know,
Yeah,
where
and you don't get time on the ball. They just come
yeah,
flying
but
in fleet footed to
I
get you.
think what I find with the Premier League is a lot of teams their fullbacks like to be pushed up the pitch. You know, more. Whereas in the championship they sort of sit back. You know, so that'll probably suit Nanto.
I think so. I'm agreeing with you. Do you think Ramazani's going to get a shout in? Do you think he'll get a new lease of life in the Premier League with
You know
us?
what? I hope he does. You know, I love seeing that
Yeah,
backflip celebration. So you know, more of it. You know, but
I want to see more
no,
of
he's
what do you call the guy came in there? Oh God, man, name's blank. He didn't get a lot of game time last year. The left back, right back, um,
oh Smith.
Schmidt. Oh my God, I went
Uh,
blank. Schmidt. Well, I'd love to see him get a better shout. I don't know
yeah.
why he didn't, but Farka
Well,
did come out and say
we
bigger
we
plans for
we
you.
were we were actually at Windsor Park that night for Northern Ireland v Switzerland.
Very.
We probably see more of him in that game than we did, you know, in his minutes for Leeds, like you know. But
You, me, two
you
idiots. Well, me anyway. Shangan Leeds.
know, Farker doesn't. I don't know. It's weird. Farker doesn't fancy them. You know, it's
Maybe he's
you know
just
what I
not.
mean.
Maybe he
It's
just wasn't suited for the toughness of the championship. Maybe the Premier League,
yeah.
as I say, it's a different kettle of fish. It's more laid back and it gives you more time in the ball. But yeah. So where do you stand? Going back to the main. Sorry, we got off topic. Going back to Arnson, where do you think he
Yes.
stands this season coming?
Do you know what? I don't see. The problem was last season, he
Hmm.
more or less was on every single team sheet, and I think he was the only player, you know, in the team that, you know, if the team's changed, you look at all the lineups and you see like a name out, a name in, a name out, a name in. Arnson was there every single week,
And do you know what's
you
funny?
know,
I was the
and
same with Jesse Marsh.
yeah,
It's
it was
weird.
weird, you know. It was kind of like, you know, he needs a break. He needs a break, you know. Even when he was playing for USA and he was coming back on what an
Hmm.
8 hour flight or whatever it was, you know, he was straight back into the team. So he was.
Yeah,
But
I do remember that. Toy. He
no,
literally.
at I don't think you'll get too much game time this year. You know, if we do get a number 10.
But he could be more of a rotation for right,
Yeah,
left, center. You know what I mean? He
yeah,
could
he
be a
play
rotation,
playing
yeah,
two or
where he's
three
there.
positions.
Because it could be one of them ones that we could be in a game and like, we're going to be in a defensive most of the season. We're not going to lie to you, right?
Yeah.
But if players are getting tired, he's a good option to bring on to just go right, just run every ball down, use
See,
20 minutes and just burn your energy.
that's where I see we were talking earlier about the centre backs. You
Mm-hmm.
know, see if we need to close games out. You know, you can have Pascal, you know, be all Rodon centre back. You can play five at the back. You know, so that could be, you know, one of the reasons. Well, if you're getting a draw against Liverpool, you know, you're drawing 90th minute. You know, you're gonna want to try and keep the point, aren't you, rather than
They're doing
lose it.
they're doing some
You
spending
know,
on.
you need what 38, 38. Well, you're gonna need about 38 points this year. Maybe 40. You know, the way it is, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's strong. Like,
Well, we're
you know, when
guaranteed
you look at,
six of Man United, so we're guaranteed six at least there. Sorry.
you know, it's Brentford. I think are gonna be weaker. You know, but
I think Brentford in trouble. They sold another guy this today to Arsenal. What do you call him? He's away. Um, who is it? Do you know who I'm on about?
I haven't really
Newgard,
heard today.
Newgard's or something from Brentford's
Oh
away to
yes, yes,
Arsenal.
him Nogard. Yes, yes,
Newgard,
yes.
he's away to
I think I
Arsenal.
did
So
see that.
there's another player gone.
Yeah, you know,
Um,
so you know, there's only so much. You know, if you're selling somebody and you have to have somebody lined up, there's only so
mm,
far you can stretch it. You know, before
I agree.
eventually it catches up with you.
I agree. Um, but yeah, so Arnson, I think he's going to be more of
High
a
rotation.
rotation. Aye,
Yeah,
I think so. But we'll never know.
I think as I said to
Every
you,
manager.
I find him sort of he holds on to the ball when he shouldn't. He tries to beat people, you know, and then he tries to beat them again. You know, sometimes his head's down, he's not looking up. You know, he's just running with the ball. You know, he done a nice wee pirouette against Bristol City, like I seen the highlights last night, which refreshed my memory. You know, it did look quite good, but you know,
Highlights always
and
look better, don't they?
he did get
Really?
a few goals. You know, he got obviously the goal against Derby. He scored against Portsmouth. Should have had another one against Portsmouth.
He
If you
could have done
remember?
the best redemption game
Yeah.
ever. Came on the 80th minute and could have won the bloody game.
What did he get? He got one goal. He should have had two. You know, in his first
I
game
got
back.
yeah. He came
You know, but
flying
that
back from off.
that miss on the opening day of the season, like it was a shocker.
It was spectacular.
You know,
It was spectacular. It was a great goal.
but I'm trying to think where else he scored against Sheffield Wednesday early on in the season. You know, he got
Mhm.
us up and running there. I'm trying to think where else he had any
He got
joy
a
like,
tap
but
in, didn't he? He got a tap in against someone. It was more or less the game was already over. It was like 2 or 3 nil. He probably scored
no,
against Stoke. Everybody scored against Stoke, so no, he didn't. It was
yeah,
on
no, I think
purpose.
he didn't actually he didn't score against Stoke. It was actually
No, no.
the defender took it off him. He would have tapped in Peru's,
Mm,
you know, ball over the line, but I think the defender got it and he ended up giving it to Peru. So
fair
you
enough.
were happy anyway because you had Peru
Yeah.
hat trick. So
Pure hat trick. Fire
uh,
on it, 150 odd quid back, and finally got one. If you keep doing it, it'll eventually happen.
yeah,
Probably broke even over the season.
he had. Do you know what the funny part about it is? He actually had the bet up inside what 18 minutes.
18 minutes. 18 minutes. Hat trick. Boom.
Do
Imagine.
you know what I
What
mean?
would you reckon the odds would be for an 18-minute hat trick?
Flip me, it'd be pretty good because I think what is the record for? You know, 4 minutes
Who's
or
that?
Mane, I think it is. I think it was Mane for
It was,
Southampton.
isn't
It used to
It
be Robbie
was
Fowler.
Manny. It was Manny.
Robbie
Yeah,
Fowler
that's brilliant.
against Arsenal.
It was.
I think
That's
Robbie
right.
Fowler's was the harder one because he had all the Arsenal back line back in the day.
Arsenal
You know
were a
to
good
beat,
squad. Mm. So
but
what we'll do is
yeah,
just before we go here, going forward in the season, we got the big guy, we got another striker. We're talking about it. What do you think we need? Where do we need to improve? What do we need to bring in?
I think we need a good marquee centre forward.
And
You know,
who do you think?
somebody that's got maybe
Mhm.
I don't know 15 15 goals last season, 20 goals
Mhm.
last season. Someday I'd like to see us go into the French league. So I would. There's if you look at the likes of Leicester and teams like that, they went in that's the lower league French teams, and
Mhm.
they're able to find Mahrez, Kante, players like that. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that Bundesliga. Ban players from the Bundesliga. I don't think. You look at the likes of Robin Koch. He came to Leeds. We big reputation, and
Yeah, but he's got
was
that back
crap.
now. He's killing it. He's killing it over there
He,
now.
he, he was crap for us, and then he went back to that Bundesliga, and now he's a world beater again.
But do
So
you blame him
it's
as it
not a
being a
good
bad
level.
player? Do you blame Leeds for just having a bad setup when it was just a
No,
shitty
I
situation?
just don't. I never rated him. I watched him against Statsy Garnacio. Remember, Man United played us, and Garnacio absolutely left him for dust, and that was decision made. I think he messed up against Leicester. First or second season we were back. Tried to play the ball back instead of kicking it out. And he ended up. I never really rated him, to be honest, but you know that's just my opinion. Like, I don't know how he gets in
No,
the Germany team, but
I agree with you. I
somebody must
agree with
see
you, but
something.
I am putting a bit towards the shit show of the club we had at the time. Like there was very little that could hold their head up high and say, "Do you know what, I done the club proud." Very little of
Yeah,
them that season
I
did. I
actually
think it
I
was just
seen a
toxic.
I seen a thing there today. It was like Leeds' best 11, in the Premier League, and I was actually I was just looking through it, and Weston McKennie was in centre mid.
I seen that. I
I
seen that.
was thinking, flipping me,
You would just
you
stick the
know.
whole 2001 season team in
No,
there,
flip.
Mark Viduka. No, you would just do Mark Viduka, Harry Kuehl,
No, I guess
Lee.
this was like recent. This was like the last 3 years or four
Mm,
years. You
right,
know,
right, right. Fair enough.
you know what I mean. It wasn't like Rafinha's. It was Weston McKennie in midfield. But
Do you reckon Leeds could get some? See, when you were talking about the team there, let's talk about Rafinha. Do you reckon any club, any player, sorry, would come to Leeds and go, listen, I see what Rafinha done. Do you reckon Leeds could sell that as a selling point? Listen, come to us, give us a season or two, make a name for yourself, and go. Look at Rafinha. Rafinha came to us,
yeah,
made a name. He's now fighting for Ballon d'Or or top
I
goal
think you get
scorer.
it.
But you could use that as an excuse, could you
If
not?
you look at his numbers at the minute, right? There's no player in Europe that has them numbers. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if see if it's given the Vinicius Junior or something like that, you'll look and
Mm-hmm.
you'll go high.
Because they're
Do you know what I
expected
mean?
to get it. Rafinha
I
came
think
from Leeds
Barcelona won the league
relegated.
as well, didn't they?
They did. They
They were
did.
very
Yeah.
unlucky in the Champions League. I think if they had got past Inter. I know PSG beat Inter, well beat them
I think
in the
Barca would have
end, but
given them a
that
better
would have
game in
been
the
that
final.
would have been probably the best final. And
I
obviously
definitely
Rafinha
would
would
have
have.
think. Yeah, I definitely would have think Barcelona would have give PSG a better run
But
for their money
again,
than Inter did.
as I said earlier, you know
Hmm.
that's another player from the French league. He came from Rennes.
Yeah,
That's
but
where I want to see us. I want to see us going in the French league and having the nosy. You know,
what about this one for you? What about going window shopping in Lyon at the minute? Would anybody stand out there for you? They have to be going for
that's
buttons or nothing.
I'd say
No,
say
but I
half the
mean,
Europe's looking their players now.
I
You know, I'd say
I know,
Battis
but
are in
like,
there.
just stick your head and go. Does anybody want to come to Leeds?
Yeah, no, I think Battis are above us in the queue. They seem to play on
Love a bargain.
bargains. I sure look at what the dumb who was it? Was it Anthony? Took him off Man United. They went flip. Man United are in trouble here. We'll take him.
That's
You
right.
know, you know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
And then
It's
half the lead squad buy one get one free.
yeah.
Or
I would say
Furbo one or free.
Battis would be they'd be top of the queue there. For their players, but you know,
Free
yeah,
pint if you come to Leeds. Makes sense. Well, what they're getting in Leon, they couldn't even afford a pint there. I don't think they're getting even paid at the minute, are they? Leon aren't even getting. They're
but
not paying the
yes, but
players. They're done.
back there, Rafinha. I think the
Sorry.
will. I think it's obvious the will turn around and say, look at Rafinha.
Mm,
Look at what he's done. You know,
yeah. Because
that
that's
just
shame.
proves you don't have to be in the Champions League. To you know what I mean. Like he came to Leeds for a relegation battle, pretty much, and he
He was
probably
so
knew that
close.
when he was joining.
See your man order for Leeds now, not to bring him up but he did bring it. Like he brought in some bad players, but he did bring in a golden couple and crackers, like didn't he?
I've always said that there are people slate him off and say, he's bad. But if you look even in the early days, the likes of Samu says, I know he
He's a
didn't stick
cracker.
around too long. He was, he was a real find. And then you look at the likes of Alioski, you know,
He
you
was a
look at,
grafter as well, Rafinha.
yeah,
There w-
he, like,
mm,
for me, he was one of our best left backs. You
and he
know,
wasn't even a left
probably,
back.
I will, he sort of played left wing, didn't he? Left wing back.
Did he not bring
So he
in
did.
did he not bring in, maybe this is before, maybe I'm being silly. Did he not bring in Dallas and Luke Ayling for literally buttons?
Stuart Dallas. I think he was there, yes, when,
Because
Lemons came in.
that's a cracking signing as
Mm.
well. Like if you're gonna talk about that, he came in for nothing.
Yeah, Brentford, that was Brentford. I think that was,
Brentford.
well, no, that was Uwe
No?
Rosler was there at the time. 'Cause I think Uwe Rosler brought Dallas. He brought Dallas from Crusaders over to Brentford. He
Right.
scouted him, or his scout scouted him, and then obviously Uwe Rosler got the Leeds job, and then that's how Dallas ended up,
For buttons. The
a
history
legend
is,
pretty much.
yeah, absolutely. So getting back on, so yeah, I think like with your man Yaka, that was sold him. Look at Rafinha came here, made a step up. If we go down, you've made a name for yourself. Go on about your
I just
business.
hope. I don't think it is true this time, but I think the likes of them loan contracts. Don't think they're going to exist.
No, they're
But when you
definitely
think
not.
about it as well, but if you think about it, right, I know everybody said that it was bad loan, but it sort of protected the club from sort of having the big wage bill.
No, I know. You can flip up a coin, heads or
So
tails.
you can flip it that way. If you look at, I know it didn't, like that Ipswich game I look back on, they all came back. Was it Birmingham? You know, they were out.
Hmm.
The Birmingham game, that was it last season, or sorry, well, the season before last, because obviously last season's
Birmingham got
finished.
relegated.
Uh, the Birmingham game, we literally had to throw together a team,
The first game of
to
the
play
season
because
after.
Nanto went on strike, Sinister went on strike. That was the bad side of it. Then the good side of it probably was the financial side. But if you look as well, you look at the rubbish we got off the books. I know people will probably argue and say Tyler Adams wasn't rubbish, but we managed to get 25. We managed to get 25 for Sinister. There's what?
Here, Sinister, do you know he's played in 2 seasons for Bournemouth? He's played something like 80 minutes in total.
Yeah, but if you look, like, would we have got that money, or would their value have dipped if
Hmm.
we hadn't sold when we did? So that's
I
another thing about them loan
hindsight,
contracts.
hindsight. Yeah, I get that, but they weren't on that
So
contract. They weren't on the loan
Sinister,
contracts.
Sinister was on the contract, and I think Adams was on the contract as well.
No, so Adams went straight away for because he was meant to go to Chelsea. Remember, he done the medical and then it fell through last minute.
Yeah, but he had the loan option,
Oh, did he? He probably just took it, same as Orange, and they had it.
so he did. And see, to be honest, I don't think he wanted to be around. Like,
Mhm. Yeah. Um, Going back to the original, so we were chatting about what do we need. Personally, I think we need a keeper.
yeah,
I wouldn't have minded James on to have a chat about Pope. He would have given us an insight, but maybe we'll get him on at a later date. There's Pope has been heavily linked. The rumors today that Melier is all crap. It's not true. Fenerbahce are going for another keeper in Turkey. Um, so they're not getting Melier. Melier that
what sort
was
of money? What sort of money would you take from Elliot?
12 million,
12.
12
You'd
to
be happy.
15.
I don't think we're getting much more, to be honest. So I think
I think 12.
you're probably in and around that. I
Yeah,
think
but
the problem was, like, see when we dropped out of the Premier League,
mhm.
Allardyce dropped him, and then he had the same problem in the Championship towards the end. When the running got tough. Like, I
Mhm.
watched him. You obviously watched the game against Sheffield United, the away game, and
Mhm.
see for the first 15 minutes, even the commentators were saying he looks very shaky. He doesn't. You know what I mean? He was flapping at stuff, and then the Swansea game, although he saved the penalty, he still
Messed
cost
up
us
the rest.
points. The
Yep.
Sunderland game, he cost us points. The whole game, he cost us points. So there's two from Hull, 2 points. Two from Sunderland, there's 4 points. you probably argue maybe the Portsmouth game.
Oh,
He
the
cost
Portsmouth
us an
game.
hour 2 points. When
I
he
put
he, he
that
did
down to
he
just
sort of
first game of the
stopped.
season.
No, that this is the away game. He was gonna come out and he didn't. He stopped, and then when he did come out,
Hesitated.
it was too late.
I
So you
remember
probably
now.
look at 2 points there, as well. So you
Mm.
probably, if you add it up, he probably cost us about 7 points, 7 or 8 points. And if you look at the fact that the Premier League, when he was in the Premier League, he was making these mistakes towards the end, when the pressure was on, and then he was making the mistakes. Obviously, even last season, or sorry, the season before, in the Championship, the first season
Mm-hmm.
back, towards the end, he was making wee silly mistakes. So teams have obviously realised that there. I think you're probably 10 to 12. I think that's probably the most we'll get.
I think 12 because of his
The
age.
thing,
I
the
do
the
believe his
thing
age is
about
going to.
the thing about the high valuation, of 10, it'll probably be less. If it wasn't for his age, I think his age is keeping us. You know what I mean? He's, what is he, 20 something? I think if he was a lot older, with all them mistakes, we'd be getting next to nothing.
Okay. I have a question for you, Aaron, from somebody who's watching in. Can you see the comment? It says here, random question to the guy on the right. Do you play football or are you just a fan?
I'm just a fan.
You played football. You played with me. You used to play with me for a team in Lisbon. You're a
I'm
good wee
just a
player.
fan.
I think it's
So,
our age. Our age now, we're kind of dead. I went back to football yesterday, Aaron. I'm in for another year. I did it. I told myself I wouldn't, and I did. So I'm in for another year. Played last night, and I
happy
was sore
days.
all over. 42-year-old man diving around like a headless chicken. Still do better, Millie. So Halo 42, he did play football, and he's quite a good winger, and he can strike a ball. He's only scored one past me ever in his whole life. No, that's a lie. He scored a lot past me. Says here he looks like he could run with the best of them. You can run. You can run. You're getting
I
compliments
do.
today, Aaron. Look at this. You're loving life. Well, if you were a winger, you had to be able to run. Yeah, you were. I couldn't run. I couldn't run. That's why I don't
Tell you what,
goalkeeper.
see when you're out on the 11 side pitch,
Mm,
you know, it's a totally different ball game.
it's
That's
so
what it
sore.
is. Than standing in the stands and saying, why did he not do that? Why did he do that? Why didn't he pass?
It's easy to
You're
point
watching
the
on
finger
TV,
and
you can see it.
yeah,
We all do it.
point the finger and tell them they're all crap as you me come
So
on
we
to
do,
YouTube
yeah.
channel and tell them Millie
You
how
know,
bad he is as I'm a 42-year-old guy playing amateur football.
we all do it.
Oh, Jesus. I know. So I think the keeper needs to go home. I do think we need another centre midfielder. There's talks about Diarra, but the way this is going, I think that's going to go on for a couple of weeks. I don't
Well,
think
the,
we're
the
going to get
thing
any
is,
definitive of
the
that.
thing is, Rothwell was never coming, for the Premier League. We've lost him, so we do need a centre mid.
Yeah, no, I agree. But who? That's the problem.
I would take out DR, but he's too high on the radar now. I think we should have got that done before that friendly game.
But there's talks that nobody else has put a bid in for him, so they're his
But
club.
that's an reason that I said about the French league. You know,
Mm,
there's an R player from the French league,
I know, but
Strasbourg.
there's talks about they wanted to hold off on bigger offers, and the player's agent wanted to hold off on a bigger club. Nobody's come in for him yet. Again, it's still in the summer. Players are coming
No,
back. When
I'll tell you,
back in the
I'll tell
ninth.
you what's happened. So there wasn't much interest. We were interested in him before the England game, and as soon as he scored that goal, Strasbourg have went, flip me. He's been on TV. He scored against England. We could probably get more from him. That's what's happened there.
Probably scoring against England when there's all talks about the jet going up to the ground and I'm doing that and I'm like, not a chance. You have to be at the ground 2 hours before that match and they're telling me at 5 o'clock he flew up to Thor Park. Come on, people.
Some of the stories are just
It's
absolutely ridiculous.
fantastic the cuts. No, definitely not. If we get him, it's another statement signing. We do need to get a number 9. I do believe we need to replace Solomon. I know we have lots of wingers there, but I do believe we need to get a bit of more
The way it's
experience.
the way it's set up, I
Mm.
don't think Solomon's coming.
No, he's
you know,
not.
back.
No.
Nah,
By the looks of it, I've kind of made my peace with that,
it's
and
kind
I'm
of like
ready
the
to
Ben
move on.
White. It was kind of like the Ben White sort of, you know, of 2020.
Mm.
Ben White, you know, we're gonna get him. We're gonna get him. You know what I mean. He's gonna sign the permanent, and then he went
Never
back to
fall in love
Brighton,
with a
played the
wrong
season
player.
at Brighton, and then Arsenal paid what 40.
Yeah, fair enough.
I tell you what, see 40 million. Looking at it now, it's a bargain.
For who? Sullivan?
No, Ben White.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
You
I thought you
know,
were talking about Sullivan. No,
at
Ben
the
White's
time you were
cracking.
thinking 40 million, flip me, but you know, looking at it 4 years later, 3 years later, you know, you're thinking that was probably a bargain.
It really was. It really was. Would you think he would have made a difference? I know hindsight, but do you think he would have made a difference with us in the Premier League?
See, Arsenal use him at right back, don't they, as well?
They used him at centre back the first year, and then there was
Yeah,
an injury at right back, and then when that injury came in, they brought in a centre back, blah blah blah, and then he got stuck out there. Yeah, pretty much.
yeah. But saying that there, the first year we finished ninth, so he probably would. Well, I don't think he would have made much of a difference, but you
Mm.
know,
40 million
40
is the
million
going
is a
rate for a
going rate
Tesco
for a
meal.
Tesco meal deal.
Gary,
It will be. It will be in about 5 years' time.
it's mad, and
The way
it's mad.
inflation's going.
And we need a strike. We need a number 9 as well. So we're going to be pushing for a big number 9. Who do you think needs to go? Right, there's talks about Joseph. Joseph needs to go on loan. He does need to be
Yeah.
sold. Don't don't jump the gun. If we're
No.
financially stable, don't jump the gun. Don't sell him. Loan
The
him out.
only way I would sell. The only way I would sell him is if he wants to go, and we get like a 50% sell-on clause.
It's a bit high. I don't think any club will do that, but I get the point. As close to it as
That's
possible.
30, 35 or
Mm.
30%.
There's a couple of
That would
players
be
that
the only.
left. Yeah, there's a couple of young players
It
left
would
over the
just
years, and
covers,
now
like if 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 it covers, the likes of maybe 2 years time, 3 years time.
it
You
covers.
know,
Yeah, there's a couple of players like Cresswell left. I think a wee bit prematurely. You could have loaned him out and then sold him off for the 20 million. There was another
uh,
player that went out. What do you call your man? Dean, remember Dean, the striker? He's now in Europe. Do you remember him? We sold him for like 500,000, 1 million or something. He's worth about 6, 7, 8 now, and he's scoring goals for fun. And then you've got Joseph. Don't be premature and loan him out. Sell him, loan him out. Get a
the
season or
problem with
two.
Joseph is right. He's got potential. You've seen it in Spain under 21 games. But see, when he gets into our team, he never takes his chance.
But maybe that could be like Nanto in the Championship. Is it just too competitive for him? Up in the Premier
You
League,
know,
maybe he gets more time, more
like
space.
he got two against Chelsea, in the
Mhm.
cup, but he never. If you watch him, some games he goes missing.
He has his moments, and then it's
And
quiet for a
then,
while, and then he'll come up with something, and then he goes quiet
but
for
I
a bit.
think
Yeah.
I personally think, I know this is a long shot, and I know people will probably get laughed at here, but I think, see, having that free transfer in the match here,
The striker.
see if we played the ball up to him, he's gonna hold it.
I
He's
think
gonna
he's a
bring people
cracking.
into play.
I think he's going to be better than people are. People think.
Yeah,
I honestly think people see injury prone and free. That's terrible.
I think as well. People look at the likes of goals per game, and they think one goal in 10 matches, but
Listen,
you
who's
know,
who went free this year? De Bruyne went free. Does that mean he's shit?
no.
No. He's a free transfer because his contract run out. He's injury prone, and they didn't want to take a chance in the injuries. We need a striker. We've got him in for free. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, we're not down penny. Smart. Brilliant signing. There's no commitment to that. There's no failure to that. It works out or
Yeah.
it doesn't. Whatever. You're down a wage. I think he's going to be a lot better than people give credit for. I really, really do. I sounded emotional and passionate about that one, didn't I? I'm just sick of hearing he's shit, he's shit, he's shit. If that's our 9, we're out, we're done, we're lost. Players who need to leave. Let's have a chat
I'd
about
like to
players.
see us.
Go ahead.
I'd like to see us as well. Top up the academy. The last time we're in the Premier League, we got Strike, we got the likes of
Somerville.
Somerville. We went to Ajax and teams like that and bought
Mhm.
youth players. I
Mhm.
think we need to do that again because I don't really see too much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
not getting there yet, Taylor 42. I'm not crying yet. Tell you what, I'll be crying. I'll be crying my eyeballs out if Jack Harrison stays. He needs to go. And now we'll move on from Jack Harrison. So he's one of the players who needs to
I
go. Let's
I
not
think the
talk
less
about
said
that.
about him, the better.
The better. Jack who? Get him out the door. So he needs to go. Vober needs to go. Melier needs to go. Um, excuse me. I think Bamford needs to go. He's
I think
another
the
one.
problem with Bamford is he's on what 60 grand a week. He's not giving that up.
He's got a year left though. Will the club not just turn around to him and say, right, we're done?
Well, he'd want his full money, and
Mm.
would you want to pay somebody up, when he can probably come off the bench for maybe 10, 15 minutes,
Okay,
you
put
know?
it this way: he has to. So the way I look at him, he's got 1 year left of 60 grand. 1 year left of 60 grand a week. Boom. That runs out. Nobody's going to offer that. He'll be 33. Do you not go to another club and sign a 3-year contract on 30 grand? So over in the longer space, it'll benefit him. He's losing more now. He's losing more now, but on the bigger picture, he's got a 3-year contract somewhere.
Well, he'd probably look at it and think, I can set this 60 grand out and then go to America.
But he'd be too old by then. I'll send that. There's guys in America playing at
It's,
40.
see that MLS. See if
Well,
you're like it's weird the way it works. See if you're like a Premier League player that's not really, people know who you are, but you're under the radar. Obviously like Bamford,
Mm.
people know who you are. That see them Americans, they'll pay anything for anybody. So, well, you look at you. I know. Well, obviously, the likes of Ben Teke and people like that. Over in America, he's probably thinking, "Fuck, I'm making more money over here than I did in the Premier League." you know,
I get
I
that.
don't think he'll go to. I don't think he'll go to Qatar. I think there is talk of him going to America, and then there was rumors that he was going to Wrexham, which I think's total bullshit.
Nonsense. Yeah, because
Yeah,
they're now having to play by the financial fair play rules. You didn't have
yeah,
to do that in League One and League Two or Conference.
yeah.
They can
League
spend what
One,
they
League
want.
Two, yeah. So Birmingham
So
actually were smart. Birmingham bought, they done all their business in the League One.
when they
The
didn't need
likes
to
of that way
pick the
Stansfield,
boxes.
they got him in for 9 million. Players like that. At that level, you're thinking, flip me. But it was a risk. But the won the league. I actually think they're going to be up there this year.
You think they're going to do an Ipswich double?
I think I think Southampton will win the league, and I think Birmingham will finish second.
And what do you think? What about Leicester?
The problem with Leicester is the points deduction. You look at if you look at Sheffield United this year, they had a -2. They needed before his ball was kicked, they needed 103 points to go up.
Yeah.
Never mind. If you look at in hindsight now what happened.
Mm. And I heard Mullins gone.
Yeah, he's
done
away to
his
Wigan,
part.
or
Aye, he's done his part.
it's Wigan, isn't it? He
Yeah,
went to.
he's left he's left as a legend. I get
Yeah,
that. Yeah, Mullen was brought in to get them out of the conference. He lasted
yeah,
the championship or even League One.
yeah.
I thought was a compliment to him. He was brought in to get them out of the conference. End of story.
Fair play to them, but the nobody's ever done back to back to back. Is that right?
Back to back. That's right.
Yeah.
Could you imagine him hitting?
Do you know what I mean?
Man,
It's
man,
I actually thought I thought Salford were gonna do it a while ago. When they kept
yeah.
getting the promotions, but fair play to Wrexham.
I don't like Salford. I'm not a big fan of Salford at all.
Where do you think they'll finish this year? Do you think they'll?
Wrexham?
Yeah,
I just don't know. The championship. I'm glad we're not in it this year. I'm really glad.
Mm.
That's a tough championship.
it
You've
is.
got you've got Southampton, Leicester. I know Leicester are
Yeah,
going to have the point deduction, but they're going to bat their people black and blue to get them points. You've got Wrexham, Birmingham. Birmingham are not going to be. They're going to be in there for sure. Sheffield United again. They're in there. I think Norwich are going to bounce back from their bad year. There's also West Brom. All these clubs are massive clubs. Like West Brom are one of the richest clubs there are. Look at QPR. They're rich. They've got a new manager. You've got God, the only club that I think is going to be struggling is Sheffield Wednesday. I'll be shocked if they're a
yeah.
club.
Don't
The
get me
way
wrong.
this is going.
I know we're in the Premier League. We've moved on. For how long it may be.
For now.
But I love the championship. I really
I know.
do. I
I
just
hate that.
see every year. You're talking 15 teams. That obviously you'll have your nailed on favourites like Southampton. Obviously, if Leicester get
Mm-hmm.
their points sorted out, you're gonna have them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As well. But there's about 15 teams that can actually do it. You look at Sunderland. I wouldn't have had them. I would have had them in top six, at the start of the season, but I would never have said they were getting promoted. For me, it was Leeds, Burnley,
Aye.
Sheffield United. If you ask me all
Middlesbrough.
season,
I thought Middlesbrough would have been
you
in there
know,
as well. Because remember they beat
the
us in the
problem
cup
with
in the first
Middlesbrough is
game.
Middlesbrough they seem to always
No
be
chance.
there and then fade off.
We're not getting relegated no more. I'm fed up
So
with
they do.
that. Brentford are knackered. I think Brentford's going to be in trouble if they don't get their act together. But you know what's funny? We were after the keeper from Brentford for a while, Keller, whatever you bloody call him. And he's went there, and everybody's left.
Hmm.
Their
Yeah,
centre backs left, their managers left, their midfielders left, the wingers left, the strikers left, and there's talks about Whistler leaving as well.
I honestly think we've missed the trick with him. Like, to be honest,
With who?
the Kelleher. I think we should have went and got him.
Yeah, I know.
It,
I agree.
it's his
And what did he go
age,
for?
his
12
sell-on
million?
value.
And
You
how much
know,
did he go? Yeah, it was less than 15, wasn't it? Remember everybody was talking about 40 million here
but
and 40
as I
million
said,
there?
I'd be happy enough. I'll be happy enough for Nick Pope.
I wouldn't mind Nick Poke. Nick Poke? Poke? It's like Nick Pope when you
As you
did it
say,
more.
he's not gonna go to Newcastle, or Trafford's not gonna come into Newcastle, and he's not gonna just sit there. He's gonna want to play.
Yeah. Well, again, if we had had our famous Newcastle fan on, he could have talked us through the stats. But
Well,
sure,
maybe
family
you
comes
scared him
first.
with that Sports Direct Cup. That's what you done.
Family comes first. Ooh, I see what your priorities like.
What is it, Meg Ashley?
Fuck's sake.
What about Meg Ashley? Did Meg Ashley not move the Alan Shearer statue outside the stadium because he had a row with him, or outside the grounds?
I don't even know if he did.
So basically, Newcastle. Your mate can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I hear, Newcastle had a statue for Alan Shearer. So when Mike Ashley fell out with Alan Shearer, he changed the name from Shearer's Bar to Bar 9, and he moved the statue from inside the Newcastle grounds to outside the Newcastle grounds. Now, your mate can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I heard.
That's amazing. Well, it's not amazing. It's kind of sad. You think our owner was bad? Remember Clino,
But
who
I think,
bankrupted it? He bankrupted his new club. They're gone now.
yeah, I think, I think it's back to Shearer's Bar now. Like, so it is. I think
Yeah, because he's gone, isn't he? Ashley's gone.
yeah,
Now.
yeah,
shows
but it
you,
was
doesn't
Bar
it?
9, Bar 9 for a while. So much. It's like, do you remember Pro Evo when they didn't have the real names?
Ryan Googs and Paul Scholes.
Yeah.
And
That's what it's like. It's like, flip, we need to change this
Cuckoo.
here for copyright.
Cuckoo instead of Kaka. Remember Ronaldo with the RU.
Oh, flip.
Oh,
Those were the days, mate. Those were the
was some
days.
game. That's it. You know what?
Yeah.
That's just showing our age now, so it is.
I know, mate. I know.
Aaron, we're coming up to 1 hour. What do you reckon we call that one? Yes. Do you know what's funny? We come on and we'll go, we'll do 15, 20, maybe half an hour max. Boom. We just waffle away. It's the whole point of this, isn't it?
It's just waffle, mate.
That's it. So what we'll do, we'll leave it there, folks. Again, I'm doing the giveaway when we get not if, when we get to the 100 subscribers and 100 likes, I'm going to randomly pick a name from all of them, and I'm going to buy any football team you want, apart from Man United. The wife has to buy that one. I ain't buying no Man United top. But all on that one, folks. Absolute pleasure. Please hit the like. First video we ever made, the first song we ever made, we done it as like a tutorial, like to see how it went. I didn't realize how important the likes were. If you're gonna watch it for 10 seconds, hit the like and leave if you have to. It helps it, But all on that one, folks. Let's just check. Is there any more? You ain't that old lad. And when what? We'll get an answer on this and then we'll head on. But when what? I talk a lot of shit. There's a lot of whens, who's, what's, where's, why's. We'll see. Give him a minute to reply to when. He's probably away. We'll give him a minute. Anyway, Aaron, just before we do go, we'll give him a second to reply back. But anything else you want to add?
I'm just looking forward to the season kicking off, and hopefully we get a few more players in. I think we need maybe 4 or 5 at least new players.
Oh, right. So the football top, you said. So when we get 100 likes and 100 subscribers, I will randomly pick somebody who liked the video over all the videos, and I will buy them any football top they want, apart from Man United. I am not buying Man United. I'll buy
And
you
it's not,
any football
just for the
top you want.
record, it's not going to be a turkey special.
No, it's not going to be that either. You can buy any
No.
football team you want. We'll
We
buy you
DH
Chelsea,
gate.
Liverpool. We
Yeah.
DH. No, it's going to be a proper.
No.
It's going to be a proper top.
You imagine getting it and the guy's texting you going, mate, I've watched this once and it's the
That's
sponsors
the
fell
other
off.
No, it's a
Oh, flip me,
proper.
man.
It's a proper one.
Yeah.
But otherwise, Aaron, happy enough. Sorry, just I interrupted you last time. Anything else to say?
No, mate, just looking forward to loving these new podcasts, and hopefully, I know it says Saturday night, 10 o'clock, but it will be
No,
Saturday night, 10 o'clock.
We are
This
going
is
to be
just-
doing. We are going to
Yeah.
be doing the 10 o'clock. It is fact, but I'm not starting that until the season starts.
Yeah.
It's to the point now. We're going to do a couple every week, maybe
Couple
one
of
a week.
pre-season.
Couple of pre-season. We're not. I'm just building up to the season. When the season kicks off, we'll be doing every Saturday night on the games, so the
Yeah.
pre-games, the match games. We will definitely get into that. It's a summer. It's a summer, as you know, Aaron. It's a summer. There's not going to be a
Yeah.
lot of people. Not going to be a lot of talk. There's about 500 Leeds channels who talk about transfers day in day out. I don't want to be doing transfers. If a player comes in, we'll have a quick chat about them. We get bored listening about transfer. I do. I don't know about you. It's crazy season. We're linked with freaking everybody. Moses, whoever. There's a lot of people covering. I'm not covering transfers. I'm not smart enough either to keep up with it. Too lazy as well.
As soon as they're signed, that's the best thing. Like,
You
you know.
spelt Leeds wrong. Coming from somebody who's dyslexic like myself, he spelt Leeds wrong. Don't spell Leeds wrong. I'm only joking. You could call it only fools and transfers.
Brilliant. There you are. There's an idea for you.
I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna steal that. Only fools and transfers. Do you know what? Because that was such a good comment, I'm actually going to do a show called Only Fools and Transfers.
Yes.
doing it.
Brilliant.
I'm doing it. Anyway,
Brilliant.
on that one, folks, thank you very much. Please hit the like, subscribe. I mean, if you're watching it, just hit the like button. I mean, it takes you, 2 seconds? And on that one, I'll get back on. We'll try and get a bit more. We'll try and get James back on as well. And we're going to get other guys on, Arsenal fans, Liverpool fans. We've got a load coming on. We've got Spurs fans. We'll get them and so on. We'll have a chat with them and we'll get the ball rolling. But anyway, good night.